By the start of the 1970s, Kellogg's were dominating the British breakfast cereal market with a raft of different products, some healthy, some not so. One brave all-British brand was fighting for its place at the table.
Kellogg's were the #1 cereal brand, and they were the ones that we wanted to beat. Yeah, it was a healthy rivalry.
Weetabix needed to try and expand its range while staying true to its healthy beginnings. In 1971, a Weetabix executive took a family skiing holiday in Switzerland.
So the story is that somebody quite senior within the business was away on a skiing holiday and they were served this muesli for breakfast. They thought, this is really tasty. I wonder if this would do well in the UK, and decided to bring that recipe, and Alpen was developed.
Within months, the Weetabix boffins had turned an alpine holiday breakfast into a revolutionary cereal, which enticed adults with its natural, healthy, clean living image.
From this land of summer richness comes a marvellous old Swiss recipe full of good things. Wheat and oats, full ripe grapes, firm young hazelnuts.
Alpen was always positioned as a healthy product. It was that whole idea of bringing that Swiss air into the breakfast time.
Alpen is a very high, good value product in terms of nutrition. And people were more inclined to try the Alpen on the basis that it was done by somebody who'd done a really good job with their main product.
Yeah, it's 21% sugar. It does taste, I think, like it used to. God, that's really interesting. It doesn't taste anything like what I think of as a muesli now. It's crispy wheat flakes and milk powder. It's quite sweet.
But the marketing worked. Alpen boosted Weetabix's market share by around 1/4 in its first year, and Kellogg's were caught napping.
I think it was partly this kind of seen as something a little bit more exotic, a little bit more trendy than having, if I can say it, good old boring Weetabix or cornflakes.
Seeing the ascent of Alpen's sales, Kellogg set to work developing their very own version. In 1974, they launched a mix of oats, maize, wheat bran, nuts and dried fruit. They set themselves apart from Alpen by emphasising the quality of their homegrown ingredients.
Kellogg's have gathered together a store of good country things to make a new breakfast food called Country Store. Perhaps the most delicious new breakfast you've tasted yet.
It was very much Alpen, Country Store, you know, and it was, when we were in the stores, it was trying to get as much space for Country Store at the expense of Alpen.
We owned the Swissness, that Swiss-style muesli. Theirs was more about the mouthfeel, more about sort of the crunch and that sort of the texture. You don't have to work hard to eat Alpen.
But without the whiff of alpine air, Country Store failed to appeal to the changing tastes of the new adult market.
You put your investment where you're going to get the best return, and that wasn't necessarily with Country Store.
Alpen were the clear winners in the big brand muesli market. But without knowing, they were inspiring a new generation of cereal entrepreneurs. Two young brothers from Bedfordshire were about to enter the fray.
There was an awful lot of change happening in the late 60s, not least in food.
Bill Jordan's family had been running a mill in Biggleswade since 1855, but by the 1960s, business was bad.
We were very aware of how threatened the industry was and how difficult it was to survive in the milling industry when everybody else was going down the pan.
Bill and his brother David were heirs to the family business, but in the summer of '69 decided to go on a journey of self-discovery.
I was playing in a French band and spent most of my time in the back of a van. I hitchhiked across the States, from the east to the west.
Bill not only found himself, but a new counterculture cereal that would change his and his family's life.
This was when I was fortunate to run into granola. I was absolutely bowled over by it. It was a really interesting mix of cereals, oats, seeds, nuts, fruit in some cases. It was nutritious, and it was probably the sort of thing that could be made in an old mill in Bedfordshire.
Returning home to Biggleswade, Bill and his brother mixed variations of oats, nuts and seeds and baked them in the Aga, testing them out on their mum Patricia around the kitchen table.
Early ovens were a bit of a shambles, weren't they? We used to keep burning ourselves with those trays.
Yeah, yeah.
If you had 3 stripes, 3 burns on your arm, you were a sergeant. You got to run the shift.
It wasn't fun, but it was all the fun things we had with the cereals, trying things. Everything was a bit of a muddle and a laugh, and we enjoyed it all.
When we were trialling the recipes in the kitchen, there were an awful lot of recipes that didn't seem to work. They were too soggy, too crunchy, too brittle. There was always something wrong. We had a lot of things to talk about, ingredients which hadn't really been recognised before. We didn't have preservatives, we didn't have flavourings, we had whole grains, and so we had a natural advantage in many ways.
Having spent months perfecting the recipe, the brothers quickly realised that breaking into the cereal market was going to be a challenge.
It was pretty difficult to get into the big supermarkets, which were obviously full of the big manufacturers' product.
So in 1972, the Jordan brothers launched their granola at the Ideal Home Show, but it didn't go quite as planned.
A lot of people accused us of selling the bird food, which we were a bit concerned about.
With hundreds of bags of granola being produced every week, they needed a new approach, fast. So began going to agricultural fairs and rock concerts to hand out samples of their new age product.
I think we sampled granola for the first 3 Glastonbury festivals and carried on beyond that. We had to get into the natural food stores, health food stores, delicatessens, and we got a lot of support because we were different.
Still containing sugar but packed full of healthy ingredients, by the late 70s, Jordan's was selling its granola in 1,500 health food stores, which is when the supermarkets started to take note.
In the 1980s, we were benefiting from the fact that a lot of the big manufacturers were being criticised for heavy use of sugar. Consumers were being told that the box was more nutritious than the contents. We were getting flack too on the granola side. The New York Times said, "What tastes terrible and doubles in sales every 30 days." I think by 1980 we were selling something like 100 tons of granola a week. By that time we got people like Waitrose stocking us.
What were you trying to do with the cereal?
Oh, it was worldwide domination, obviously.
While Jordan's was cornering the adult market, Kellogg's continued to make big money selling cereal to kids and teenagers.
Pin back your ears and listen up, fellas. I'm gonna tell you how to make your friends jealous. You gotta find the key to the Frosty's taste from the top secret formula on which it's based.
While Tony the Tiger had become cool, arch rivals Weetabix were still promoting a wholesome family image.
There was a real divide in cereals that were aimed at adults and cereals that were aimed at kids, and it was very obvious. So the ones that were aimed at adults were, generally quite plain on the pack and were also relatively healthy. The ones that were aimed at kids had usually some kind of character.
Kids were finding the colourful advertising and catchy jingles of Kellogg's brands irresistible.
My name's Coco, I'm a monkey like you. I live in the jungle, not in the soup. Oh yeah. Kellogg's Cocoa Pops taste so chocolatey, they even turn the milk brown. So I'd rather have a bowl of Cocoa Pops.
As mums in supermarket aisles up and down the country were being pestered to purchase Kellogg's, sales in their biggest sugary brands rocketed.
Pester power clearly came into selling Kellogg's cereals. I won't deny, when you put a on-pack promotion, you put a very attractive character on the pack so that you know that when the family are going around the supermarket, the kid is going to tug the mum's skirt and say, "I want that packet to take home today."
Weetabix were struggling to compete and needed to update their image. And in 1982, they came up with their very own characters to rough up their rivals.
We'd better tell them.
We're not airy-fairy cereals, all right? Because we're the Weetabix.
We're not nothing for breakfast.
We've got a bit of bite. We're the Weetabix.
Weetabix executives came up with Dunk, Bixie, Brains, Crunch and Brian, the Neat Wheat Gang.
The characters were great because each character was just highlighting actually a benefit of Weetabix. You've got Bixie, you've got Brain, you know, you're going to be able to work hard at school.
It was good fun advertising, but it was still advertising a product that to a lot of kids was seen as fairly dull and boring. So I think our view of the Neat Wheat Gang was, nice try, but advertising in isolation isn't going to give you success with kids.
There was a comment was made that perhaps it was a bit too boisterous now and we needed to move away from it.
In 1989, after 7 years, the Neat Wheat Gang had gone stale and were withdrawn by Weetabix, leaving Kellogg's domination of the kids' market undisputed. And they were noticing that their sugary cereals weren't only loved by children.
Frosted Flakes just for kids? Come on. Like, we adults have to go sneaking around. Like, we can't enjoy these sweet, crunchy flakes just as much as kids.
Daddy, are you eating our Frosted Flakes again?
Probably the greatest drivers of market growth in the 1980s was the introduction of larger packs. Even though this was traditionally a kid's cereal, if you put a packet this big into people's homes, Mum and Dad would eat it as well, and eat it morning, noon, and particularly at night after a night at the pub.
But Kellogg's didn't rest on their cornflakes. Knowing adults were eating kids' cereal, they tried to develop a sweet cereal aimed at adults. Just as they had done with the Frosty in the 60s, Kellogg's took the cornflake and changed the game.
All right. It's the honey, it's the molasses, freshly chopped nuts. Yeah, just tastes sensational.
Kellogg's launched the crunchy nut cornflake onto our breakfast tables. The honey meant the flakes were 30% sugar, but their marketing campaign, aimed squarely at adults, encouraged us to eat as many bowls as possible.
Kellogg's Crunchy Nut Cornflakes. Delicious golden flakes of corn encrusted with honey, nuts and brown sugar. The trouble is they taste too good.
Crunchy Nut Cornflakes became Kellogg's second biggest selling cereal.
As humans, we are drawn to salt, sugar and fat. If you want people to buy more and more of something, then, you know, adding more sugar is going to be an absolute win. And it dissolves into the milk and makes the milk sweet. So it was a surefire winner.
By 1995, Kellogg's were unstoppable. We couldn't get enough.
At that point, pretty much all the innovation that we were churning out was working like a dream.
But Kellogg's were about to come under attack, not only for the amount of sugar in their cereal, but by an invasion from across the Atlantic.
Competitors can come in a different way, in a different format than perhaps we'd seen before. And, you know, you've got to be continually on the lookout and preparing for those options to happen.